This is the Layover Podcast, where your hosts Tracy Davis and Patrick Trevino share the unfiltered, behind-the-scenes stories of entrepreneurship. So sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy your flight. This is the Layover Podcast.
I can't accept the loss, I'm hard-headed. There's a little bit of madness to my method. Many falling off that fine line that I'm treading. I risk anything to be great.
Happy New Year, guys. Or have we officially stopped saying that? I guess it's going to be released January 14th. So yeah, probably past the deadline. But for shits and giggles, one last time, Happy New Year, everybody. You're back with the Layover Podcast. And this episode is one that is near and dear to my heart. We have Angela Chakos on this episode, and she is an animal communicator. Now, I know some of you guys might be rolling your eyes. It might not sit right with you. You're like, what? That doesn't exist. Hey, that's totally fine. You're in a safe space. But I will tell you, I have experienced her gift firsthand, and it is mind-blowing. She was able to connect with King Milo, and what she reported back was, I don't know, stories and things that only I could have known. Not even my best friends, my family knew these stories. So it was wild. And you're going to get to hear all about her experience finding this gift, really honing in on this craft, and then creating a business out of it. Everything from what it is like in the fear to really kind of come out to the world with this gift, because naturally they're skeptics, and that's okay. But really finding that courage, moving through that imposter syndrome, and creating a business of her dreams. And you guys are going to find this episode so inspirational. It's so moving. And Angela is just so authentic, so genuine. You guys are truly going to be able to connect with her as if you're in the room with us. Now, this is a solo episode. We missed Patrick. He was under the weather when we were recording this. Pat, we missed you, my friend, but it was great to be able to connect with Angela because from Mind and Social, she was one of my clients, and we were able to work through this new business together. So being able to connect in person was something that was just truly, truly magical, and I'm still so grateful and blessed to this day to have her in my life. So guys, stick around for this episode. It is just one of a kind, and you're going to love it. And before I let you go, I mentioned this last week, but we are hosting and co-hosting an event with Upward Executive Women's Group here in Atlanta. And this event is for women who are really embracing that transition and that change in their career. Now, we're going to have an amazing panel of entrepreneurs, health and wellness coaches, business owners, people who are recruiters, to really navigate what it's like to be in between jobs or to be a mom coming back into the work field. So whether you're finding your next position, have a friend who is looking for their next, career change, please come and join and support the amazing women on this panel. I'm moderating, and I'm so excited to hear everyone's stories. And we're also hosting a mini career fair afterwards. So if you are looking for that next job, you've got to come. You'll be able to sit at the table with CEOs who are actually hiring and hear firsthand what they're looking for. It's January 30th, 10 a.m. You'll find all the details in the show notes. Make sure you RSVP because it does sell out very quickly. We cannot wait to see you there, guys. Now let's go ahead and jump into the show with Angela Chakos. Welcome to the Layover Podcast, Angela. We have been talking about this for a long time now. So excited to have you here.
I'm so excited to finally meet you in person.
I know. I feel like we've been talking for months and months, and then finally face to face, it's like it's heaven. It's finally here. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. I know it feels a little weird. Patrick is not here today because he's under the weather, but I'm so glad we get some one-on-one time because your journey is so insane and amazing, and I cannot wait for the world to hear it. So, you ready to jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, tell everybody who you are.
Okay, I'm Angela Chakos, and I'm an animal communicator. I have never even considered going into an entrepreneurship role. My dad was an entrepreneur, and I always said I'll always get a paycheck every 2 weeks. I need that steady 9-to-5 job because it is up and down and up and down. And
It is.
I saw that. And so the fact that I was even like toying with the idea of doing anything on my own was huge. But in 2020, for the animal communication stuff, in 2020, my dog, he wasn't ill or anything, but it was right at the beginning of COVID. My husband had COVID, so he was quarantined, and Charlie just started like peeing in the house and like it's just weird stuff.
And what type of dog was Charlie?
He was a Boston Beagle,
Okay, Boston
a
Beagle.
Boglin Terrier is what they called him.
Is that like a formal name for it, or is that your name for it?
I think like people actually, there's like Boglin groups and stuff, but he was my husband's dog first.
I love it.
But I thought maybe he was just like, this is the longest he's been away from Derek, maybe because Derek was gone for like almost a month. But there was just this moment when we were sitting on the floor, like I just felt like he was telling me that our time left was very short. And it's not like anything was happening at that time. Yeah, he peed in the house a few times, and then within like 2 weeks, a tumor developed and Derek's in isolation. So I'm like trying to coordinate like, oh my God, I cannot have to put him down
that's
without.
a lot. Yeah.
And we couldn't go into the clinics, because of COVID. So anyway, I just had this feeling that things were ending sooner than later.
It was like an intuitive feeling.
It was like just a gut feeling. And at the time I'm like, well, there's nothing really hard. Like, what does this even mean?
Yeah.
But of course I didn't want to like focus on it. So I kind of just pushed it to the side. And then when the mass showed up, it came up like overnight and it was a very fast decline. Derek was able to come out of isolation and we thought we were going to be able to do surgery. And then the vet called and said like, yeah, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
So I had a very hard time processing Charlie's death. I was, we were isolated because of COVID. It was just a bad time.
Yeah.
And it was like my family was all intact. And then Derek got COVID, he left. And then when he came back, we never had that family unit again. Like it was really hard. And so my vet actually said, I don't know if you're into this, like ignore it if it's not your thing, but you might benefit from an animal communicator.
And was this the first time you'd ever heard of this?
I think I'd heard of like pet psychics.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't like know of any or anything like that. But I kind of felt like, okay, this is the vet. And I feel like
it seems legit.
If she's recommending it, then I'll give it a try.
Yeah.
Backstory, my husband's a psychologist. So he's very logical thinking and he wants to see scientific studies for everything, which that doesn't really go with the woo-woo
very
world.
Different industries there.
Yes. But he agreed to go with me and it was a good experience. We did it in person though, during COVID. So we were like sitting far apart from one another and they, sorry.
No, you're good.
Charlie came through, and it was like, I want to believe that this is real, but she started telling me things about, I don't know. It was a wild experience, but it kind of like pushed me down the road of grief. Like I was able to kind of get past the major hump. And then like 6 months later, I had started following like different animal communicators online and
like you got the bug.
I was reading books. Like, I'm like, something is here. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something here and I just need to know more. So then, I saved up some money to do like this celebrity one.
Ooh.
And I was like crying almost immediately because the stuff she told me, I was like, there is absolutely no way that she could have known X, Y, and Z. Even Derek, my husband, didn't know that this had happened.
So for people who aren't familiar with the animal communication, can you talk about that process her process? What does she do?
Okay. So she looks at a picture from a distance, like she was in California, I believe.
Okay.
And she is able to tap into their energy, I guess is a good way of putting it.
You're in a safe space. I'm woo-woo too. Okay. So you're good.
So yeah, this is not for everybody. And I totally acknowledge that. And so if it's not for you, that's fine. But it's for me.
Yeah.
So
me too.
Okay. So she is able to like see things, hear things, smell things. She could feel like at one point, I think she was like, I feel like there was something wrong with his back. Was there like a tumor, like something? I feel like there's something. So she can feel it like in her body, and that's how the animal is showing her. So it's kind of weird to wrap your brain around it, but at that point, I was like, okay, I still don't understand how this works.
But you're trusting it now because she was telling you stuff.
Yes, I was like, I don't, and I made sure that I only like gave her my first name. Yeah. I didn't like, she didn't know my public profile, my email. There's no way she could have like Googled anything.
Yeah.
I'm like really aware of that kind of stuff. So after that, I kept reading books, and like nobody else seemed to be into it as much as me.
Of course. That's the way it is.
Yeah. And so I just kept reading books, following people. And it was actually maybe like 2 years later after Charlie had passed. Okay. So 2 years later, I was doing a vision board with my friend Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
And
love the vision boards.
Yes, love the vision boards. And there was something that I found that said, like, what is something you always thought you could do, but you're afraid to try, or something like that, from like Real Simple magazine or something. And I told her, I was like, I really feel like I had a connection with Charlie. I knew that something was happening, and I don't know, I feel like I want to try this. And I found this one person, a different animal communicator who like mentors you through it. I was like, I don't understand how they teach it to you, but I kind of want to do it. She was totally supportive.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible.
And then when I told my husband,
I would love to have been a fly on the wall for this conversation.
Was kind of like, wait, you want to pay money to this person to teach you how to talk to animals? Like, I mean, I could just see like the wheels turning, like, what the hell?
He's like, they don't teach this in school.
I know. Like, is she delusional? Mm-hmm. Like, do I need to be concerned? And I don't think he thought I was, I don't think he like was really taking me seriously at first. I mean, he's very supportive. Like, if that's what you want to do it. But I could tell that he was like, is this real?
Was his experience with the animal communicator, like, how did he feel the initial time when she was connecting with Charlie?
He said he really wanted it to be real.
Okay.
It did help. It did bring some healing, but he couldn't explain it. Yeah. So he couldn't wrap his head around it.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I was like that for a while too. White, you know, it was like, is this real? So I connected with this animal communicator out of LA, and I started meeting with her every week over Zoom, and we just worked on how to get into the right mindset. So you kind of are like, some people have to get into like a meditative state. Some people can just tap into it immediately. They don't have to like shift their mindset at all. But she would have me do like little practice things with some of her dogs. Cool. And like I was getting things right. And I'm like, well, I always like was doubting, like, well, maybe that was just a fluke. Mm-hmm. Maybe that was just, you know, any dog would have said X, Y, Z. But I had to do like 65 practice sessions before
65.
Yeah, for free. So I did those for free in exchange for like detailed feedback. Okay. So I had all my friends recruiting people that I didn't know, like their friends, their neighbors. So I wouldn't have any background information. I actually prefer to have no background information, just the picture of the animal. And so I started getting these images. It's almost like watching a reel. Sometimes it's like you're watching like a little clip of the animal showing you either an environment, like with Milo.
Mm-hmm. I know. I can't wait for everyone to hear about
this. So it's just you're watching like something kind of unfold, or sometimes you see a word like written out in front of you, or you hear a word. Or one time I smelled tuna fish.
Interesting.
And I was talking to it was a dog. And I don't eat fish. Yeah. My husband doesn't eat fish. There's no way that there should have been a tuna fish smell in my living room. And I was like, oh, it was so strong.
Oh, my God.
That kind of freaked me out at first. So it comes in, like, it's almost like active receiving.
Yeah, okay.
You just have to be open and
kind of build up that trust muscle too, right?
Yes. Like, everybody, I believe, has the ability. Like, everybody can do it. it takes time to fine tune the muscle.
Yeah. And trust that you're actually getting those hits and it's real.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You really, that's really hard, is to like believe yourself. Yeah. And my one mentor always said, just always go back to the animal. So if you start doubting yourself, just go back to the animal and just focus on the animal. Like, this isn't about you. And that's the truth. Like, I'm just kind of a messenger. I don't, anything the animal says to me or any kind of message I get, I just jot it down. And then I like to wait about a day. And then I come back, I reconnect with the animal, and everything kind of like clicks at that point. I'm able to get more details, and I type up the little summary and send it off. And I absolutely love getting feedback.
I mean, guys, you did Milo, and it was the most accurate thing. I literally like did a spit take when I got your your message back, and we'll have to tell everybody about Milo at the end.
Yeah.
But you are insanely accurate with this. It's wild. It's hard to believe for people who don't come from that woo-woo world.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm out of the closet on the woo-woo side.
Right.
So.
And I was scared to tell people, like, what are people going to think of me? Like,
Sure,
you worry
yeah.
about that aspect of things. Like, I didn't tell my family for a long time.
I was going to ask, what was that? You know,
So my mom is very Catholic, and she had to consult with her priest.
sure.
He said it was okay.
Okay.
So
we got the sign off.
Yeah,
We're
we
good.
got the sign off from her priest. But yeah, it was just kind of weird. But
Yeah.
now, like, my brother will call me and be like, "Hey, send me a picture of his dog. What's going on?"
Wow.
His one dog, Leo, was not doing well, and he had a blockage once and had to have his intestines cut open, and then they thought maybe he had another one. And I kept getting the image of like rotten intestines, that's what I kept getting, rotten intestines. And so they took him to the vet the next day. He had necrotic intestines.
Wow.
And it was so bad that there was nothing they could do. So they did have to put poor Leo down. But I was like, how
That's
the hell
wild,
did I
yeah.
know that? That's just weird. Like, I could have said anything.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, so that's like stuff like that. There was one where this little brown chihuahua named Duke.
That's such a good Chihuahua name.
Yeah, this was my friend's neighbor's mother or mother-in-law in Florida.
Okay.
So like, I do not know these people at all. It was a little brown dog, and the dog seemed like really nervous and kind of like irritated and just out of sorts.
Yeah.
And he kept saying like, I'm normally not like this. I'm normally not like this. And I'm still really upset about what happened in the living room.
What?
I'm like, okay, what
You're like, what happened?
what happened in the living room? And I could see like people coming and going, like workers in and out of the house, in and out of the house. And so what I'll see is like a living room that I'm familiar with. So I could almost see like my living room
Okay.
that way. So sometimes I see, anyway, so that's like it's almost like symbolism.
Got it, yeah.
So I'm like seeing like,
Yeah.
okay, in the living room, there's people coming and going. It was very dark. And I thought maybe they were like painting or something because all the furniture was like shoved to one
Moved,
side of the
yeah.
room. And there was some kind of emphasis on like a tarp or a sheet or something. So I'm like, okay, I don't know where this is going,
Yeah.
but okay. So then he kind of started trying to talk about like other things, but then he kept coming back to this living room and how he was still really upset. And this is not his normal demeanor. And he said, I'm really like, I could tell he was like grieving the loss of somebody, something. And he said he can never be replaced. And he's missed greatly or something. And I'm like, okay, somebody died.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like a puzzle piece kind of a
Yeah, you're
process.
trying to piece it together.
So I'm thinking like, okay, somebody died. I'm thinking maybe it was like, maybe another dog died or something. I don't know. So I write all of this out, send it off. And I'm always so nervous, like hitting send. I'm like,
oh my gosh, I'm sure.
they're either going to think I'm insane or like nailed it, you know? So I sent it, and it turns out that the lady's husband had just died in the home.
Wow.
Hospice had been there. They rearranged the whole living room to have the bed there. The hospice workers were in and out of the house.
Oh my God.
And then when the husband, who was very close to Duke, when he died, and I guess it was like the act of like covering him up with the sheet or the tarp or something, the dog like went nuts.
Oh.
And so then it was like, okay, well that tracks. Like that is really weird.
That's accurate.
So it's like stuff like that. Like
I mean, you have a true talent. I mean,
Thank you.
you do. And trust me, when the first time I mean, I've already talked about it in the podcast before, but you communicated with Milo for me because everyone knows that Milo's a little bit of an a-hole. We love him. He is the king of the castle, but he has his moments. And I had reached out because our mutual friend Maddie was like, hey, maybe she can help you because he's a little bit of an a-hole. Maybe she can figure it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, what you came back with, guys, during this time was when our family dog had gone missing, and it was awful, very tragic, but she had dementia and kind of wandered off, and we searched for days and days and days and could not find this dog. And when I had reached out to you, you had no idea about this. And you came back and you're like, Milo says he was a part of a search and rescue and it's like rainy at night. I literally was just like, I like dropped my phone. I was like, who the F is this woman? I was like, is she like around me? I mean,
it's weird, right?
It's wild. It is wild. I mean, we're still trying to figure out why Milo's an a-hole. We're working through that.
Yes, we are.
I'm kidding. I love him. So you got this trust muscle. You started to, realize that, hey, you do have this gift. So what was that step of saying, you know what, I can actually start to monetize this. I can help other people and, maybe create a business. What was that thought process for you?
I think it was my friends really encouraging me because I just like doing it and getting the feedback from people and knowing that I'm helping animals. And it's a lot of times I'll actually donate my services to different rescues so they can auction it off and stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's a cool way to give back.
Absolutely.
But it was my friends really like, no, I think you have something here. I think that you can really make something out of this. So I'm not like tech savvy and I made my own website. I mean, it took forever. At one point I accidentally deleted it and had to call it was a whole thing. But, and so I had my website. I didn't tell people about it. It was just kind of, if they stumbled across it, maybe, and my brother, he had told a couple people. So it was kind of like that. Like I wasn't
word
really.
of mouth, yeah.
Yeah. And then our mutual friend, Maddie, actually, she's doing her photography now. And so I was telling her, like, I want to do more with the animal communication, but I've gotten to a point where I don't know the next step. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I just have people Venmo me. Like this isn't like really official, but it would be really cool if I could do something more. Like I would love to quit my government 9-to-5 job, but that also sounds like insane to me. So that's when I worked with Mind and Social.
Yay!
And you guys like helped me because again, I had done everything I knew to do and I was stuck. And so you were able to get me going down the right path with the LLC and my bank account and taxes and just figuring out ways to get my name out there. And it really like bumped my confidence up. Yeah. Just seeing it was like kind of official now. And the fact that I was even wanting to do anything on my own, because circling back, my dad was,
yeah, you said you were not going to ever do that.
I would never, ever do this. And side note, I was very sick in my early 20s. I had cancer. So the idea of doing anything out on my own was scary. Like I needed that security. I needed the 9-to-5 job, the benefits. I needed to be able to call out when I was sick, stuff like that. So the fact that this was unfolding, I'm like, this is not from me. This is not like this, something bigger is going on.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I'm my absolute happiest when I talk about animal communication.
I love that. That's when you're following, your path, the right path for you.
Like it just feels very natural to me. And I think I've always had like an intuitive side. Yeah. I mean, when I was a young kid, I had this really icky feeling that I was always going to have cancer at some point.
Wow.
When I was like 7.
No way.
Oh yeah. When I learned about what leukemia was, we were raising money at school. And anytime I would hear a story or somebody's mom got cancer, I had this voice in my head that was like, you will have your day one time. Like I just had this, but I didn't want to tell anybody because it's scary.
Of course.
So when I actually started getting sick, it was like, oh, okay, I think this is it. And so it wasn't quite as shocking as it maybe would have been to other people.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just weird stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I've just always been very in touch with or in tune with things.
And that step, right? So you created this business, and by the way, you are like the best client ever. So I just have to say that because you were a dream, because it was just so fluid and you were so open. And you could see that passion in you. So from the moment that we had started talking, actually the moment that you read Milo, then I know you're the real deal. But then when we started working together, you have something in you that's just like a true light that people are attracted to. And that's how I knew. I was like, she's going to be wildly successful, because that's what defines, in my perspective, entrepreneurs that are going to be successful is when you're like in your own, when you're following your path. It's so contagious and people want to be around that. They want to give you money. They're like, please take it. Like, I know you're going to be wildly successful. But on the flip side, I know that's nerve-wracking, right? Because you're talking about, you've got a 9-to-5, you're still, in that stage of kind of transitioning from, side hustle to full time. it's nerve-wracking in general. And so how do you personally cope with that? Because a lot of people have that feeling of, should I take that step? Can I do it? I mean, is it worth it? I mean, what is your headspace and how did you work through that feeling?
I mean, I definitely had imposter syndrome and I still struggle with that from time to time. I think everybody does at some point. But I'm also trying to like my services are very woo-woo. So on top of already feeling like imposter syndrome, I'm also like, ooh, here's this thing that I do and you may or may not believe in it. But, so I think I just always, like what my mentor said, go back to the animals. Like, I really want to be able to serve animals and do something to help them. I wish I had been a vet, but I honestly don't think I could have done.
I went through that phase too, and I was like,
I was a science major. Like
same,
I could not have. I couldn't have done that. So I just want to help animals, and I mean, I'm the person that reads the story. Like I follow all these animals on Instagram, and I am like devastated when something bad happens. It's just I have to do something with animals, and I just feel like this gift is special, and not everybody has it, and so. If I don't use it, I'm wasting my life. I'm wasting my skills. And this was the next step, was to be able to monetize it so that not to get rich. Like, I'm not like, oh, I just want to get rich. And I need to be able to make enough money so that I have more time to then serve more animals. And so, cause I struggled with, except like charging. Yeah. Cause I just wanted to help people.
Yep.
I felt like, oh, I don't, but you kind of have to at some, I mean, you do have to have money to live. So,
yes. And you're offering such a powerful service that you deserve to be paid for that service.
Thank you.
Top dollar.
Thank you.
Y'all, top dollar, please. Get her in now because her rates are increasing in the next few months. So.
Yes, that is true. Just because I do work the 9-to-5 job and like, it takes me about 2 hours to do a session.
Wow. Okay.
So I do maybe 45 minutes to an hour the first time. Some animals are a little bit nervous. Some are ready to talk. Some are like, it's almost like they're waiting for me.
That's so crazy.
It's really weird. Like they're ready to go. Other times I have to take time to like let them warm up to me. And then I like to let it like simmer. Like I kind of write it and I put it down and then I don't think about it. And when I come back, everything just kind of like clicks, and the animal, while I'm typing, I feel like I'm getting like, it's almost like they're reading over my shoulder, like giving me like pointers and like, no, it's more like this, describe it this way. And like, I am not a super creative person. Like I couldn't come up with the stuff on my own if I wanted to, like it's weird stuff. So yeah, I spend about 2 hours doing it. And so, I mean, that's a chunk of time and it takes energy. Like
it does.
It's not just, a skill that you just do. Like I have to get into the right mindset and,
do you feel drained afterwards, or do you feel like after you go, because I would imagine if you're like connecting with something or someone, it's almost like I would feel like your energy would be, I don't know, shifted or drained a little bit, but maybe not.
I think some people get really, really drained. I really don't.
That's
I mean, I get, it's like a mental fatigue, not like a physical fatigue, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense.
But I'm also so excited, like that, especially if they tell me something really cool, I can't wait to tell the owner. Or, I mean, I have actually stopped a session with the animal to be like, hang on, I got to call the owner, like something, this is weird. Let me just call the owner and just like get some clarification on this, because one of them, the animal was in pain and needed to go to the vet. And that was actually why they reached out to me, to see if it was time.
Yeah.
And the animal, I couldn't get it to stay on topic. It was like, I'm in pain. Help me. Please help me. I'm in pain. The only thing that can help me is the vet, which I'm assuming was the euthanasia. And so I stopped. I was like, okay, I can't do this session because this animal is suffering.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, then that's why we reached out to you, because we weren't sure if it was time. And it was apparently.
Time. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Like full body chills right now. Well, the one thing that I think is really unique, and I think it's also a unique challenge for someone in your position, is because when, like with my other job, right, we sell technology. So it's a product, but in your sense, you kind of are the product. Like you're it's got a weird thing. And there's so much like value and innate, like, hey, this is a gift that I'm offering, but that's also really vulnerable,
It's
like
super scary.
I can imagine, because if someone doesn't like my tech, it's like, okay, cool. Like, you don't like my tech, someone else is. But when you're like opening yourself up to that, that's a little bit scary. Can you talk about that?
I mean, that's why I think it's taking me almost 5 years to get to this point, because I've had to really work on my confidence, because it is scary to put yourself out there. I mean, I have friends that I literally just started telling that I did, close friends.
Wow.
Because I just was very scared to put myself out there. And I mean, people might think you're crazy.
Totally.
And
to
I
be fair,
finally,
people think we're crazy anyway.
right. I was able to get to the point where I was like, well, the dogs don't think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
The cats don't, I don't care. Like you live
screw it.
once.
Yeah.
And if it's helping people, and helping their animals, then, I was on the receiving end of that and it brought so much healing that I feel like Charlie, my dog that passed, like, I feel like this was a gift that he gave to me.
Wow.
And so, in fact, the second animal communicator that he talked to, she said, I just see like you and Charlie like walking down a path, and he's like, come on, Mom, come on. You're almost like, keep going. And he was like encouraging me. And it was like, she was like, there's like a path that you guys are walking on.
Wow.
And like, now I look back and think, I wonder if that's what it was,
It absolutely was.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love these stories so much because I mean, like I said, you're in good space because we're woo-woo here. But I think people want to innately connect with their pets. I mean, everyone, you can't, I'm telling you, unless you look at an animal as just like a working dog, maybe. But for everyone in my circle, at least, a pet is your family member.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
So being able to actually communicate with them, that's such a powerful gift. And to your point, you're being able to offer a service that very few people can do. And I think it's like, how do you get yourself out there and how do you tell the world that you have this gift? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that out, but I think a lot of it is word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if you might hear about it on TV or something, but if you have a friend, they're like, oh no, wait, this actually happened to me. And I think word of mouth is huge.
Yeah.
I do have an Instagram and I post pictures of my dogs on there. Sometimes I talk about it. But my dogs are just so cute and funny.
Are
like
really
I
freaking
just
cute.
love like posting them. So I do have 3 dogs. And then I do have my website. I have run like little campaigns like, okay, let me try this, let me try that. So I'm still kind of finding my footing with that.
Yeah.
And, having my 9-to-5 job is, it helps me. It allows me to not have as much scary pressure with this business because I do have the stability, which I needed mentally to have with my health history.
So how do you balance that? Because I think a lot of people, and we work with a lot of entrepreneurs that are trying to evaluate, like, is this a side hustle? Is this going to be a full time? How do you balance having a 9-to-5 plus doing this? I mean, if it takes you 2 hours to communicate, I mean, there's only so much time in the day.
So my husband is really supportive. I'll say, hey, I just say like, I have to do a dog thing later. So can you walk the dogs tonight? Or
Got to do a dog
I've
thing.
got to do it. I got to talk to a dog, or I have a session or something. And so, cause my dogs are very needy and high maintenance.
Girl, tell me about it.
And like, yeah, I have to like have some silence. So he's good to like entertain them so that they don't interrupt me. But I do have to like time it out to where it's like, okay, I have to, because I do yoga a lot. So I'm like, okay, when am I going to have time to have the first hour and then the second hour, but also type it all up and get it to the client timely.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of juggling.
Yeah.
And I try to work with clients. Like if they have something really important, like I will move things around if I can. Because I don't know. I would do that. I would want somebody to do that for me if I was in like a situation where it's like, I really need to know what's going on.
Yeah. And so, you talked briefly about, you're not techie, or like you didn't, I'm trying to use your words.
Yeah, no, I'm not at all.
But what is that learning curve? Because I know a lot of people too are really scared because they don't even know where to start. And then they're probably thinking like, what do I do to even start a business, or if you don't have those skill sets initially, it's a big learning curve to do it.
I was Googling things
Yeah.
and watching videos and like even being able to take payment on my website, like you had to help me with that. Like I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know how to set up an LLC. I just didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know, So I think you do have to be able to get to the point to recognize where you need help and ask for it.
Yeah.
And outsource things if you can.
And now you're running it. I mean,
yeah, now I'm doing it.
Isn't
Yeah.
it wild? And have you ever had that moment where it's like a pinch me moment where you like look back and then you look at how far you've come and it's just.
Well, the vision board thing,
Yeah.
I wrote a blog on the vision board thing because it was like kind of in passing, like maybe almost even like a joke, like, okay, I think I can do this. I'm just going to try it.
Yeah.
Let's just try it.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like if I live my life and I don't try this, I'm going to regret it. And that's kind of how I make big decisions too. I think, okay, am I going to regret this if I am 85 years old and I'm like, damn it, I didn't talk to those dogs.
Yeah,
You know, like,
no, totally.
like I didn't try. I
Yeah.
didn't try something new. So I kind of just have to run with it.
You do. You've got to follow your heart. Have you gotten any feedback that wasn't positive when you've talked to people, or has everybody always come out and been very supportive of it?
I've like
Just saying
clients
that
or friends?
Well, just from in general, telling people that you are in this woo-woo world. You're like coming out of the spiritual closet, right? It's a little bit scary.
It was honestly, it's the scariest thing I've ever done in my whole life, and I've had cancer 3 times.
Damn.
Like
Mic drop there, guys.
yeah,
Okay.
like this is coming out and telling people about this is the scariest thing I've ever done. Because you feel like you might be judged. You don't want people to think you're crazy, and then I've had some people, they're kind of confused.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, what?
What?
And then I mean, I feel like I've had 1 or 2, like my brother, he was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I believe in that. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't care.
You don't have to.
Like, you don't have to. So yeah, I mean, I kind of just let it roll off my shoulders. I try to, because I'm not forcing them to do anything. Like, that's not what I'm not here to like convert people or like prove anything. I'm here to help the people that are already open to it and want to be helped and have an animal that they're curious about, or if I can auction off my services to help raise money for animals. I mean, that's a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, I'm glad that you've gotten that support, because it is a very vulnerable thing. I mean, being able to just come out as who you truly are. You have a gift that not a lot of people can understand. It's scary. It's scary for sure. But I'm like so freaking proud of, I mean, I've only known you for a short period of time, but I actually look up to you a lot, because it's hard to be that vulnerable, and it's hard to just open yourself up to a lot of, criticism or critique or feedback. It's a scary thing. And building that trust muscle, I think it comes into play here, where you did so much work on the early stages. So you know in your heart that you have this gift. But building that confidence to come out, I mean, was there a period of time where you were just like, there's no way I'm ever going to do this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like,
lonely.
I mean, yes, all the time, actually. And I have, my husband is like, if it makes you happy, then keep doing it.
Yeah.
And my friends are like, no, you really do have something special. Like, I would hate if you did not keep moving forward with this, because there is something there. And so I think you have to be surrounded by people that are encouraging, and they understand that there's going to be doubts. It doesn't mean it's a sign that you shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z. But it's up and down. It's definitely up and down. I mean, there have been times where I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like,
I
I'm
feel
spending
that
all
every
this
day of my life.
I'm spending all this time and energy doing this, and like, should I be putting my energy elsewhere? Should I,
Right.
Life is, short. So I want to make sure that I'm doing what I need to be doing. But this seems to be it. Like, I get so happy. And like, even my therapist was like, when I was telling her about it, because I was even nervous telling my therapist, I'm like,
I feel like I also get nervous telling my therapist stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you going to judge me
I
for how
know.
crazy I really am?
I know, right? And so the therapist I had when I lived in Illinois, she was like, I don't care what you're doing. You light up when you talk about it. Like, you need to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And so when I moved, she was like, please, 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 out of all the stuff we talked about, that was her, like, please
Just keep doing it.
don't let this go.
Wow.
And then I was nervous telling my new therapist, and I was like, how woo-woo are you? And she literally picked up crystals in her hand that she had like crystals that so I was like, okay, I'm in good company.
That's when you know you're in good company. I know. I was funny story of that too. My therapist as well was like, how woo woo is she? And I look over and she's got like sage in the corner and all this stuff. I was like,
there's
my
your
girl.
sign. Yeah.
You're my girl. My brother, you talk about your family being kind of analytical and black and white. My brother is very similar, and I'm the woo woo one in the family. My mom is also as well, but my brother is so analytical. Like, if he doesn't see it, touch it, it's not real. And so for Christmas one time, because he always busts my balls about, burning sage, and he makes fun of me, I got him the biggest sage thing, and I got him for Christmas. He's like, what the F is this? And I was like, come to the club, Brian.
Right. Yeah. My gifts are always pretty interesting too. I've given, and and this is my love for animals. Like, you know, like you can adopt half a chicken
Yeah.
or a cow in like third world countries.
Oh, wait, half a chicken?
Well, not half a chicken. But
I was about to say it.
that didn't make sense.
Okay,
No.
I was about to say, I'm like, wait, I need to learn more about it. I want
No.
half a chicken.
I said that wrong. But
Adopt
like
a chick- yeah, I know what you're talking
donate
about.
chickens so that people can
Yes,
get their
yeah,
eggs
yeah.
and stuff like that. And so my brothers would be like 15 opening up an
Like,
envelope.
what the
that's
hell
like,
did you get me now?
what the hell is this shit? Like, I don't want this. But yeah, I've always been just a little bit different.
Same, girl, same. So you've gone through a lot, right? You've overcome cancer 3 times, which is just insanely powerful. So, I mean, it leaves me speechless. I can't even talk about that. And then you've now jumped into this entrepreneurship world, and you talked briefly about imposter syndrome, and that, you know, you still kind of wake up and you're like, and we talked about this as we were getting coffee this morning. You know, she walked in and she's like, your podcast is about entrepreneurship, and I'm not an entrepreneur. And if I could have slapped you across the face, I would have, and I don't want to get sued and, you know, be crazy. But it's sometimes hard to like accept the fact that, you know what, this is my identity now, or I have, you know, evolved into being a business owner. Would you have any advice for other people who might be going through that feeling?
I think it's just surrounding yourself with people that are a couple steps ahead of you. Because they've been there, they understand, they know what you need at that point. Like I probably never would have like started my blog or anything had I not worked with you. And from day one, as soon as I got my LLC, you were like, congratulations, you're a business owner. And I was like, really? Okay. And so you kind of have to fake it till you make it.
You do.
And you just kind of go through the motions. And if it's something that you really want, even if it's like you have those moments, like you just keep pushing forward. You kind of have to know your why. And my why is like, I just want to help animals. So
I'm so glad you said that. We talk about that all the time in this podcast is what is your why, you know, and that is going to be your guiding light, you know, North Star, so to speak. When things do get hard, you got to bring yourself back to that. So your why is the animals.
The animals. Like, and if I could do this full time, I would love to also be able to donate my time to rescues to kind of figure out which animals, like what does this animal need? What kind of family does it need? Okay. Figure out kind of the backstory and like, hey, this animal would do well with a single woman, a quiet home, or this animal really would love
I never
pets,
thought about
or
that. Yeah.
like that would be a really cool. Some animal communicators do that, and I just thought, oh God, I want to do that.
There's so many ways that you can offer this service. I had never even thought about that, honestly. That's powerful. Because if you think out of the box with this, it's more than just talking to someone's pet. You can actually make a really, really impactful experience for, you know, shelters or vets. So what is on the horizon for you? I mean, you've got your 9 to 5 now still. Is there a future in the world where this is going to be your full-time job? I don't want to get you in trouble with your 9 to 5, so we'll be careful.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, ideally, I have numbers in my head that, okay, once I replace this amount of my income, I'll go part-time.
Okay.
And then transition, because I always think about health insurance. I got to have my health insurance. So, so I would probably transition, or if I won the lottery or something,
Please, I know.
there will be signs.
Yes.
Because I will quit my job. I will have like a big dog sanctuary, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for me personally, I don't have the mindset to just take that jump, quit my job and jump in. Like it wouldn't be healthy for me mentally.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm glad that you know that.
Yeah. So it's like these baby steps. I mean, this is huge. If I could think back to when Charlie died and I'm like, oh, I'm going to reach out to this animal communicator. But it kind of came full circle because the vet actually had me talk to some of her animals.
No way.
The original, Dr. Ponce. And it was very cool to kind of come full circle. And I didn't know her pets.
Yeah.
And one was, at the end, I like to have the animals like, is there a message that you want to tell your person? And it was, please don't give up on me.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Well, she had been trying to figure out, should we schedule? Because the animal was sick. Like, do I keep putting him through these treatments? And I think I think she had like another extra 1.5 years with him.
Wow.
He recently passed, but she was able to
She didn't give up.
kind of like fall back on that. Like, I mean, she wasn't like basing all of her in, you know, she's the vet. I always defer to the vets.
For
Obviously
sure,
they're the specialists. But it kind of gave her a little bit of insight. Like, okay, I want to keep going.
That's so powerful. Okay, so I have to ask, you've talked about the moments where you've had these impactful moments of helping people like go through whether they need to transition their animals or not, but I'm sure you've had some pretty freaking funny responses from animals too. So you have to tell me, what is the funniest? I mean, I know people are gonna.
Oh, okay. So Esther, she's a black dog. She's lives in Illinois. She said, and I didn't know her mom that well. She said, "I don't like being called a treat whore." And I'm like, I don't know if I can say this to her. Like, well, it turns out that's what her nickname is in the house.
No. Oh my gosh.
And so it's just funny things like that. A treat whore.
I love it.
And I was hesitant, but I try to always, like, I want to do right by the animal. So whatever they say, I just convey it and they can figure out what it means. But I've had really like sentimental ones too.
Yeah.
Like that Esther, I said, she's showing me like, it looked like a ratty like a t-shirt. It was old and she's like carrying it around. It's really soft. And her husband had passed and they had a t-shirt that he had worn all the time. So that was Esther's shirt.
Stop.
And that was what so it's like, I have like goosebumps. She was like, so they act, animals like are way deeper than we think about.
I know. When now I feel bad for calling Milo an a-hole, but he didn't hear it. He's not here, so it's fine. You know, it's funny because you did say, it cracked me up when you were connecting with Milo for the first time, that you're like, hey, Milo has like a celebrity type of vibe. And I was like, yep, nailed it. Like at that sentence, I was like, okay, she's real.
Yeah.
Legit.
Animals, they're funny. Like I love seeing their little personalities. And some are really shy. Some are, the older they get, the more direct they are, is what I've noticed. They're just like straight to the point. And then the younger ones have like shorter attention spans.
Yeah.
They're kind of all over the place. I've talked to animals that I didn't know it at the time, but I was like, it's almost like somebody's hitting pause, they freeze, and then they come right back to like kind of like, and then I found out that they had cerebellar hyperplasia, something wrong with their brain. So it's just weird how that comes through. Because again, I do not want any information. I just want the picture and the name of the animal, and that's it. Like it's easier for me to have no information.
Yeah. You should write a book. I think that you should compile all of these one day, and then you need to put them in a book. I would read that. I'm sure a lot of people would. Everyone in the room's like, yeah. Because it's so interesting because I think, I mean, if you ask anybody, hey, would you want to connect with your pet if you could? Everyone's going to say yes. But not everybody has the balls to actually do the work and understand that they do have that capability like you did. So I think you putting it into a nice little book and have a little story time of what I want Milo to be the first page. Though.
Okay. So. Dedicated to Milo and Tracy.
The celebrity in the house. I love it. So as you go through this, you know, you've said that you're hoping that maybe one day this will be full time for you. That's a big jump as well. So is that going to be maybe in the next few years, you thinking?
I would love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
I think
what we're
it's
gonna
just
achieve. We need goals.
That would, I mean, as soon as possible.
I like it.
Yeah. As soon as possible.
Lottery time, guys.
Yeah. Yesterday.
Okay. Well, as we close out, do you have any last pieces of wisdom, words of advice for people who are thinking about starting their own business that might be scared? What would you recommend or offer them?
I would say figure out where you're stuck and find somebody else to help you with it. Because I sat on that. I got to that point and I sat on it for a good while instead of reaching out to somebody that could help me and did know the next steps that I needed to take. So I think it would just be like, okay, figure out where you're stuck and find somebody who's better at that than you.
I love it. I love it. And that's so, I mean, I would commend you on that because I think a lot of people get in their own way. And if you take a step back and you're like, hey, I have strengths and I have weaknesses. And when you identify them, that's the power move. And we talk about that a lot on this podcast is surround yourself with people who, you know, complement your weaknesses because then you actually can run twice as fast versus you doing everything and trying to, you know, fumble around.
And I was embarrassed to be like, I don't know how to do this on the computer. Like, and I'm not that old, but I just
stop it.
It's just not my gift. I can talk to dogs, but I can't deal with a computer. So
there's lines there.
You do have to get to a point where you're like, okay, saying like, I don't know this and I need help.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for your vulnerability and for being open and for the courage because I think your story is going to really impact a lot of people and give them that courage to take that next step because not only is it, you know, vulnerable of offering this service that not a lot of people even know exists. But talking through that step of like, I've got a 9 to 5 and I am scared to let that go right now. A lot of people are in that same boat. And I just commend you for just being open and honest about it, but still following your passion. And I mean, you have such a beautiful gift.
Thank you so much.
Honestly, a little bit jealous because if I could do that, I would just sit in my bedroom all day and just like talk to animals.
I mean, that's my goal.
Life goals.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find you? If they want to reach out to get an animal communication session, how do they find you?
So they can go to my website, AngelaChakos.com, or my Instagram. The handle's Angela.Chakos.
Perfect. And we will put it in the show notes so people can come find. Guys, she is the real deal. I promise on my life. So everybody reach out if you've got a pet that you want to connect to. I could not recommend you more. So thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely. All right, guys, it's time to go eat. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can't accept the loss, I'm hard-headed. There's a little bit of madness to my method. Many falling off that fine line that I'm treading. I risk anything to be great and I'm not letting nobody rob me of my victory. Number one, that's what I'm meant to be. When by any means, only thing that makes sense to me, I can make nice or make history. I got that dog in me, yeah, turn me up. Big energy, got the